because Israel was looking at outward appearances, but David saw spiritual reality. And so the story continues. Because David is voicing boldness, he's now noticed by King Saul. He comes before the king, he offers to fight. But Saul, again, showing a lack of faith, responds by saying that David, you're too young. David, you're not ready. David, you don't know what you're up against. But look at the beautiful words of David's response. I love this in verse 32. He says, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. I will go fight. I will do it. What a wonderful phrase that captures how we feel sometimes. Our hearts fail, especially when we meet our Goliaths. We don't feel like we can handle a situation that's placed on our path, and we say, we need somebody to fight for us. We need a champion. We want a champion of our own. But there's another question here. I ask myself, why is David so confident? Why is he the only one who's confident? Why is he willing to go out and think he can win? And the reason is because he's already seen God work in his life. And so he starts to tell Saul all about how he's fought bears and lions with his bare hands, and he's won. Look at verse 34. He says to Saul, your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him, and I struck him and delivered him out of his mouth. And if he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and I struck him, and I killed him. Now, let me just pause here, because, again, I know you've probably heard this story before. You may have read this. Most people skip over this section, but I just want to take this in for a minute, okay? Have you ever recognized how crazy this is? Like, David fought bears and lions with his bare hands, and he defeated them. Now, and I just said, why? Why was he doing this? Well, over the summer, I happened to watch a lot of National Geographic animal shows, and I developed an appreciation for how intimidating bears and lions can be. All right. In fact, going back to my illustration, if I was walking on the path at Chimney Rock Park and a bear like this was standing in my way, my first thought would not be, let me jump on its back and try to fight it. What would possess David to do this? Well, you got the answer right there. He said it was for the sheep. He wanted to save the sheep. Now, I wouldn't fight a bear for the sake of just fighting a bear, but if they were attacking one of my kids, it wouldn't matter. I'd jump on its back. I would find a way. I would fight. And I got to tell you, I probably would prevail over that bear because he didn't know what he's doing. David fought to save the sheep. And then look at what he learned in verse 37. Don't miss what he says here. He says, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And it's this verse right here that gives us a window into the gospel. Because just as David risked his life for the sheep, Jesus Christ gave his life for us. We see here that God is our deliverer. And that is what Israel missed. That's what David saw. The battle belongs to the Lord. He will fight to save the sheep. He will provide what we need. All we have to do is trust him. Amen. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Because there is a big difference in believing in God and trusting him. Because you can believe in God but be indifferent about him. When you trust God, you not just believe in him, but you know it's going to be okay because he's going to act and he's going to sustain your life. And that's another important lesson the Lord impressed on me on my sabbatical was I trust in myself too much. I think I can handle more than I actually can. And so one night I was reading through the devotional streams in the desert, and I came across this really convicting quote. Let me just share it with you. Things in our lives may seem to be going all wrong, and maybe you feel like that today. But God knows our circumstances better than we do, and he will work at the perfect moment if we completely trust him to work in his own way and in his own time. Often, there is nothing as godly as inactivity on our part, or nothing as harmful as restless working, for God has promised to work his sovereign will. So things in your life right now may be going all wrong. There's lions, there's giants, there's bears. Oh my. They may be on your path. And our first thought is often to fight with the weapons of the world. In fact, that's what Saul tries to get David to do. Saul, you remember this? Saul takes David and he gives him his armor, thinking it's going to do something against Goliath. And what does David say? David says, no, I can't do this. This isn't going to help me. But we do the same thing. We often trust ourselves before God. So you might be in a situation where, the finances are bad, so I need to work harder and make more money. Right? The kids are not acting as they should, so we just need to teach them to be more moral. Now, you may need to do those things. I mean, there's responsibility involved there too. But the deeper principle I'm trying to get at is that we need to lean in and trust God more and first. David was confident in his battle not because of his abilities, but because of God's ability. He remembered God's deliverance. And with that knowledge, the story gets good, because now he goes out to battle. It says, then he, David, took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. Now, we'll learn more about the stones in just 1 minute, but before we get there, don't miss that it was David who approached the Philistine. He got into the battle. He trusted God. In fact, I would say that he was confident that no matter what happened, his God, our God, was and is stronger.